It's the morning star drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Thursday, April 8th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we'll get some coronavirus updates, and it's Thursday, so there's question and answer, and of course our special segment, Victory Rhymes by Youngse from South Africa. All right, guys, how are you doing today? Yes, we had wonderful stories behind the great songs last night. Hope you guys really enjoyed that too. It is Thursday. We're heading to the tail end of the week, and it's almost, we're almost there, guys. It's almost Friday. You know what? I thought to myself sometimes is, why do we always look forward to the end? Well, yeah, of course, we always look forward to the end. But, you know, sometimes we should kind of sit back and enjoy the week that we're going through right now. So, guys, you know what? More than thinking about tomorrow being Friday, let's just enjoy today. Right? So if we always think about tomorrow, then, you know, our hearts and our minds won't be fully into what we're doing right now. And we really got to think about what do we have to do right now. All right. So it is Thursday. Amazing service last night. And let's get this day started together here on the Morning Star Drive. So keep liking and commenting, and I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. On Tuesday, we had another vlog. Yes, it's going strong. A lot more participation now since we hit over 2,500 subscribers. And first day, less in half a day, we hit about 1,000 views on that video. Hopefully, we'll get more and more each and every time. Yeah, and that one was about just me having more car trouble in Malaysia. And there is a reason for it, guys. And when you watch the vlog, you'll know what the biggest reason is. All right, either way. Also, on Sunday, we will be meeting someone else from America. All right, so we're going back to America. It's probably it's not probably, it is the largest English-speaking nation in Providence. So there's going to be a ton of people there that we can talk to. So we're going to enjoy another video going all the way back to America. All right, so I'm just very grateful and thankful for everyone who spends their time and they put their time and effort into these interviews. And I hope you guys are continuously enjoying these. Yeah, so make sure to catch next week's Sunday edition, and tomorrow I'll tell you who it is exactly. All right, so let's get into today's featured artist of the day. I am speaking too fast because I had my coffee. Okay, so today's featured artist of the day, we're going to go to the Paper Music Associates in Korea. We're going to listen to J. Root, and this is one of his newest singles that came out. It's called Diver. And then second, we'll have Renee Lai from Taiwan. It's probably one of my favorite songs because it's from a Canadian. It's a cover song of a Canadian, Avril Lavigne, and the song is Head Above Water. And then third song is going to be Aiden Verdi from New Zealand with the song Wisdom is the Best. All right, guys. So during this time of prayer condition, just make sure that we keep these member artists that you really enjoy, keep them in your prayers, and make sure that we pray that they will explode onto the music scene. All right, guys. So let's listen to our member artists from around the world.
난 항상 누군가 날 안아주길 바랬으니까 날 감싸 안아 받아주길 바랬으니까 그런데도 이보다 많이 고통스러울까
I've gotta keep the calm before the storm. I don't want less, I don't want more. But by the windows and the doors, to keep me safe, to keep me warm. Yeah, my life is what I'm fighting for. Can't part the sea, can't reach the shore. And my voice becomes the driving force. I won't let this pull me overboard. God, keep my head above water, don't let me drown. It gets harder, I'll meet you there at the altar as I fall down to my knees. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Don't let me drown. So pull me up from down below, 'cause I'm underneath the undertow. Come dry me off and hold me close. I need you now, I need you most. God, keep my head above water, don't let me drown. It gets harder, I'll meet you there at the altar as I fall down to my knees. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Don't let me drown. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Keep my head above water, above water. And I can sing in the stormy weather, and I can sing to keep it all together, and I can swim in the ocean like this forever, and I can breathe. God, keep my head above water, I lose my breath at the bottom, come rescue me. I'll be waiting, I'm too young to fall asleep. God, keep my head above water, don't let me drown. It gets harder, I'll meet you there at the altar as I fall down to my knees. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Don't let me drown. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Keep my head above water. sugar honey babe. She's a sugar honey babe. Just do whatever she says. She's a sugar honey babe. She's a sugar honey babe. Just do whatever she says. She's a sugar honey babe. She's a sugar honey babe. Just do whatever she says. She's a sugar honey babe. It's not working out, but you keep pressing on as if it'll change. Hurry up, Einstein, wisdom's knocking at your door. Go find a new way. Last time that I met the devil, he was dressed in a fake and over planning. But my girl smashed him out with insight and some understanding. Hey, yeah. She's a sugar honey babe. Just do whatever she says. She's a sugar honey babe. She's a sugar honey babe. Just do whatever she says. She's a sugar honey babe. She's a sugar honey babe. Just do whatever she says. She's a sugar honey babe. She's a sugar honey babe. Just do whatever she says. She's a sugar honey babe. She's a sugar honey babe. Just do whatever she says. She's a sugar honey babe. She's a sugar honey babe. Just do whatever she says. She's a sugar honey babe. She's a sugar honey babe. Just do whatever she says. She's a sugar honey babe.
And there it is. That was Aiden Verdi, Jew-star Aiden Verdi from the New Zealand, and that is Wisdom is the Best. Before that, Renee Lai from Taiwan, Head Above Water. That's a cover from Avril Lavigne, fellow Canadian. And of course, the feature artist of the day is Jay Root from the Paper Music Associates in Korea, and that song is Diver. All right, guys, so let's get into some news going on around the world. We'll start off with some coronavirus updates. And yes, it is slowly trudging up, but slowing down, which is great news. 132.8 million cases in the world with 2.8 million deaths at a 2.17% mortality rate. Now, one thing you guys need to know is, yes, the mortality rate 2.17 is actually extremely high, but we have to realize is the testing has not caught up yet. Like, deaths are easy to find, but if we don't have enough testing, if testing is not strong enough, and there's not enough testing going on, then the mortality rate is going to be excessively high. So right now it is excessively high, even at 2.17%. It should be at 0.1. Right? Around that, it should be around 0.1. So it's very, very far off. But later in the future, we'll know exactly how, to the extent of this. And they said it'll be anywhere from 0.1 to 0.3% is probably the estimates they said. Top 6 countries going by daily infection rates. U.S. at 31.5%. Sorry. The U.S. at 31.5 million cases with 569,000 deaths at 1.81%. Brazil, 13 million cases, 333,000 deaths. And their mortality rate went up once again to 2.56%. India, 12.7 million cases, 166,000 deaths at 1.3%. Turkey comes in at 4th, 3.5 million cases, 32,000 deaths at 0.91%. Argentina, out of nowhere, 2.4 million cases, 56,000 deaths at 2.35%. And then Iran also comes into the mix with 1.9 million cases, 63,000 deaths, and 3.23%. And, experts are saying that it's probably much, much higher in Iran. A lot of the information is not readily available and transparent. Sweden, one of the only countries not to go into lockdown, dropped 0.04%, which is really, really huge. They're down to 1.62%. And then Belgium at 2.57%. They used to be over 16%, right? Daily infection rates. This is where we get some good ideas of what is happening around the world. Of course, we have India on top once again, 96,000 cases. So they're still around this, they're almost at 100,000. Well, they were 100,000 yesterday, 96,000 today. And then the U.S. is second with 56,000 cases, right? And Brazil also coming in. Now, what does Brazil have? Brazil yesterday was very, very low, like super, super low, right? And I believe that Brazil went all the way down to like 30-something%, 31 or 32,000, and they're actually keeping steady. They're only at 38,000 right now at the moment. Iran with 13,000 and Argentina with 13,000 cases too. And those are the two new ones that came in, which is really, really good news. And the good news is if the 5 and 6 are both of them are at 13,000, which means that the daily infection rates are going down quite a bit, right? In order for them to be at that level, they are going down quite a bit in order for the last 2, 5, and 6 to be at 13,000 cases, right? So that is kind of what's going on over there in the coronavirus when it comes to the daily infection rates. Over here in Southeast Asia, Philippines, thank God, they're back to four digits. They're at 8,300 cases. Indonesia down to 3,700, which is very, very good news for them. And Malaysia to 1,000 cases in a single day. So that is some good news going on. Now, we're going to go into the top 3 news for today. First one, we're going to go back to Brazil, guys, because there's more records being broken. Brazil has more than 4,000 deaths in a 24-hour period for the first time ever. This is like in a 24-hour period, over 4,000 deaths. This is the first time in Brazil, but it's because of more contagious variants that are fueling a huge surge in cases. Hospitals overcrowded, people dying as they wait for treatment in some cities, and the health system is on the brink of collapse in many areas. At the moment, the country's total death toll is around 337,000, second only to the U.S., but President Bolsonaro continues to oppose any lockdown measures to curb the outbreak, and he argues that the damage to the economy would be worse than the effects of the virus itself, and has tried to revert some of the restrictions imposed by local authorities and the courts. Now, speaking to supporters outside the presidential residence on Tuesday, he criticized quarantine measures, claiming they were linked to obesity and depression and led to unemployment, and he did not comment on the 4,195 deaths recorded in the past 24 hours. And to date, Brazil has over 13 million cases, right? And just in March itself, we talked about this last week, over 66,000 deaths in just March itself alone, right? And that's more than double the previous monthly record. So what's the situation right now? In most states, patients with the coronavirus are using more than 90% of ICU beds, though numbers have been stable since the past week, which is good news, according to the Health Institute Fire Crews. And that's their kind of their stats company, right, or organization. So several states have reported short supplies of oxygen and sedatives, but despite the critical situation, some cities and states are already easing measures limiting the movement of people. And the fact is the anti-lockdown narrative of President Bolsonaro has won, right? And mayors and governors are politically prohibited from beefing up social distancing policies because they know supporters of the president, including business leaders, will sabotage it, right? So the far-right president, who repeatedly played down the virus, raised doubts about vaccines and defended unproven drugs as treatment, and has seen his popularity plummet amid criticism of his handling of the crisis. And he has shifted his tone on immunizations recently, pledging to make 2021 the year of vaccinations, but the government has struggled with the rollout of its programs. So critics say his government was slow in negotiating supplies amid a worldwide run, leaving Brazil facing delays in receiving jabs. And only around 8% of the population has received at least one dose, according to the World Data Tracker. So epidemiologists said the country was in a dreadful situation, telling news agencies that at the rate they're vaccinating, the only way to slow the extremely fast spread of the virus is an effective lockdown for at least 20 days. So what is the Brazil variant? We've talked about a little bit about this before, but Fire Crew says they've detected 92 variants of coronavirus in the country, including the P1 or Brazil variant, which has become a cause for concern because it is thought to be much more contagious than the original strain. And the variant is thought to have emerged in the Amazonas states in November 2020, spreading quickly in the state capital, Manaus, where it accounted for 73% of cases by January 2021, according to figures analyzed by researchers in Brazil. Right, so that is what's going on there. It is getting worse, but the good thing is the hospitalizations are flattening out, which is a good sign. Also, we're going to take a look at some studies that have been made during this pandemic, and these are very interesting ones. So it's basically studies are saying that the coronavirus raises the risk of depression and dementia. Right? So people diagnosed with coronavirus in the previous 6 months were more likely to develop depression, dementia, psychosis, and stroke, researchers have found. A third of those with a previous COVID infection went on to develop or have a relapse of a psychological or neurological condition. But those admitted to hospital or in intensive care had an even higher risk. And this is likely to be down to both the effects of stress and the virus having a direct impact on the brain. So, UK scientists looked at the electronic medical records of more than 500,000 patients in the US, and their chances of developing one of 14 common psychological or neurological conditions, including brain hemorrhage, stroke, Parkinson's, right? Dementia, psychosis, mood disorders, anxiety disorders, right? Anxiety and mood disorders were the most common diagnosis among those with COVID. And these were more likely to be down to the stress of the experience or stress of being very ill or taken to hospital, the researchers explained. And conditions like stroke and dementia were more likely to be down to the biological impacts of the virus itself or of the body's reaction to infection in general. So the coronavirus was not associated with an increased risk of Parkinson's or the Guillain-Barré syndrome, right? But they are. Now, apparently that they are, there's a higher chance if you have the coronavirus to get those things. So what's the cause and effect? The study was observational, so the researchers couldn't say whether COVID had caused any of the diagnoses, and some people would have had a stroke or depression in the next 6 months regardless. But by comparing a group of people who had had coronavirus with two groups, with flu and with other respiratory infections respectively, the researchers at the University of Oxford concluded the coronavirus was associated with more subsequent brain conditions than other respiratory illnesses. So the participants were matched by age, sex, ethnicity, and health conditions to make them as comparable as possible. And sufferers were 16% more likely to develop a psychological or neurological disorder after the coronavirus than after other respiratory infections, and 44% more likely than people recovering from the flu. On top of this, the more severely ill with COVID the patient had been, the more likely they were to receive a subsequent mental health or brain disorder diagnosis. So mood, anxiety, or psychotic disorders affected 24% of all patients, but this rose to 25% in those admitted to hospital, 28% in people who were in intensive care, and 36% in people who experienced delirium while ill. Now, strokes affected 2% of all COVID patients, rising to 7% of those admitted to ICU and 9% of those who had delirium. And dementia was diagnosed in 0.7% of all COVID patients, but 5% of those who had experienced delirium as a symptom. So people who were doing like head of research for Alzheimer's research in the UK said previous studies have highlighted that people with dementia are at higher risk of developing severe coronavirus, and this new study investigates whether this relationship may also hold in the other direction. So the study doesn't focus on the cause of this relationship, and it's important that researchers get to the bottom of what underlies these findings. So there is evidence the virus does enter the brain and cause direct damage. This is what the neurology professor at the University of Oxford explained. But it can have other indirect effects, for example, affecting blood clotting, which can lead to strokes, and the general inflammation which happens in the body as it responds to infection can affect the brain. So for just over a third of people developing one or more of these conditions, it was their first diagnosis. But even where it was a reoccurrence of a pre-existing problem, researchers said this did not rule out the possibility that COVID had caused the episode of illness, right? So this is looking at over 6 months after diagnosis, and this is kind of demonstrated that there's an after effect that can appear much later than expected, something that is no surprise to those suffering from a long COVID spat, right? So it is quite interesting to see these things happening here. And, you know, these were some of the things that were expected: depression, anxiety, mood disorders, mental health disorders too. So last on the list we have is coronavirus doctor's diary and how the virus has changed sleeping patterns. Okay, so sleep disturbances are a common reaction to all natural disasters, right? Floods, epidemics, whatever it is, right? And there was a doctor, his name is John Wright. He's from Bradford Royal Infirmary. And he's looking at the COVID pandemic as no exception to this. So when he started this diary just over a year ago, the virus was hurtling towards us from distant shores, and many clinical colleagues were waking up in the middle of the night worrying about the brewing storm. And when the hospital began filling with acutely ill patients, the insomnia stemmed from worries about individual patients and mental checklists for the day ahead. And as lockdown began, insomnia spread rapidly to the rest of the population, and in national surveys in the UK and Italy, the majority of people reported problems sleeping. Now, the world was lying awake, staring at the ceiling, Isolation and confinement from the lockdown, the breakdown of normal routines, anxiety about catching the infection, and stress from job and economic insecurity all contribute to this nocturnal restlessness. But people with sleep problems before the pandemic have experienced a worsening of symptoms, and those who were good sleepers have started to experience insomnia. So sleep doctors have come up with the label of COVID-somnia or coronasomnia to describe the variety of sleep disorders, not just in patients, but in the whole population. So many viral infections cause fatigue and drowsiness, and COVID does too. And this is the virus that clearly affects the nervous system. And then from our olfactory and facial nerves causing loss of smell and taste through to the long COVID legacy symptoms of headaches and brain fog, it is quite plausible that it has a long-lasting impact on the brain's sleeping patterns. So there are still some minor long COVID symptoms, like strange tastes of metal and soap when you eat, and some things alter smell, but perhaps a bit more, this is difficult to disentangle from normal aging and overwork, right? Because this is some things that can happen from, like I said, aging, and overworking yourself. But most annoyingly, sleep has remarkably become disrupted in many people. Repeated awakenings, tossing and turning, just staring at the ceiling, right? So it's quite interesting to see that there are these sleeping pattern effects too. But it's not just any pandemic, but whenever you get sick or any major major disasters like an earthquake, floods, it's the exact same thing, right? A lot of people still feel breathless and tired. Some people can't focus on things properly. Some people used to be good at analyzing, but now analyzing and make rapid decisions, but they can't do it right now anymore, right? So it's very interesting. There's Dr. Paul Whitaker, who runs a long COVID clinic, says that patients with long-term symptoms may have difficulty sleeping, or on the other hand, may sleep excessively up to 17 hours a day, right? It's because they're so tired. Or it can be a combination of both problems. They sleep during the day and therefore have problems sleeping at night, right? So sometimes mental health problems are a factor hindering sleep or breathlessness, or particularly in the case of people who are in intensive care, they might have nightmares, right? So most likely the majority of people that doctors are seeing, if they have any effect from the vaccine, it seems to be a positive one. So a proportion of people do feel better after the vaccine, and that tends to be improving everything, right? And in other cases, the body appears to heal by itself eventually, right? So some readers will remember this one patient, Mohammed Azim, whose oxygen levels dropped more than once to a point his consultant described it as incompatible with life, and who spent 48 days in a coma in the ICU, right? So sleep is such an important part of your physical mental health, and it's a time of recuperation when your body repairs itself and the mind processes the barrage of stimuli from the daytime. So this is something that's super important for all of us to get some good sleep. So sleep also appears to be important for our immune systems, and a good night's sleep may help maximize your immune responses to the vaccine, okay? So those are like some of the news coming out, some of the studies. So I hope that we're starting to see these long-term effects also, and it's something that we really have to think about properly and deeply too, okay? So that is the end for our current news for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed it, which means it's time for us to get into some praise and worship. This is something, guys, we got to do every day, and I hope that all of us here will spend this time just praising and worshiping the Trinity with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. So we'll start off with Light of Hope, and then we'll go into the Sail of Life, and then last but not least, a very deep shamjonic song of Please Call Me. So as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let us spend this time giving glory, honor, and praise to the Holy Trinity.
I am going, I am leaving, turning to the new history.
God's providence history, the last one of salvation, where flowers bloom and fruits grow. Heaven on earth history, rough windstorms may come and go. Eternal hope history, I shall follow only the Lord. I shall love him eternally.
Shall I live resenting others, resenting my own brothers? All of you who follow the Lord, let us never change. With never changing hearts, let us love and run to the Lord. It is only his word that becomes a light of hope. Stormy waves of trials seem to come endlessly. We may run and run, there's no end to see. Light of hope shine in providence, still flowers bloom, still the fruits in providence thrive. Because we have the word of the Lord. Oh, the light of hope shines bright. In providence, still flowers bloom, still the fruits in providence thrive. Because we have the word of the Lord. Oh, the light of hope shines bright. Oh, the light of hope shines bright.
God's providence history, the last one of salvation, where flowers bloom and fruits grow. Heaven on earth history, rough windstorms may come and go. Eternal hope history, I shall follow only the Lord. I shall love him eternally. God's providence history, the last one of salvation, where flowers bloom and fruits grow. Heaven on earth history, rough windstorms may come and go. Eternal hope history, I shall follow only the Lord. I shall love him eternally. God's providence history, the last one of salvation, where flowers bloom and fruits grow. Heaven on earth history, rough windstorms may come and go. Eternal hope history, I shall follow only the Lord. I shall love him eternally.
Let's sail farther away with the sail of our Lord. Let's fly the waves and trials of the world. This gift of rapture from the Lord. Since I set His sail, I've achieved my dreams. The sail of the Savior's love. I'll always think of Him as I live while calling on the Lord. I'll serve the Lord. He will be my center. I will travel flying high, soaring up into the sky. I'll ride the waves on the seas of this life. With the sail of the Lord, I will go to that city of gold. I'll serve the Lord. He will be my center. I will travel flying high, soaring up into the sky. I'll ride the waves on the seas of this life. With the sail of the Lord, I will go to that city of gold. Hallelujah, we will love forever. With the sail of the Lord, I'll be ever gliding high. Hallelujah, for the rapture is mine. Eagle's wings will carry me. I will fly to the city of gold. Hallelujah, we will love forever. With the sail of the Lord, I'll be ever gliding high. Hallelujah, for the rapture is mine. Eagle's wings will carry me. I will fly to that city of gold.
When the Lord comes, when His in Walnyongdong, please won't you call me? When the Lord comes and appears in providence, please come and tell me. I've waited so long for my Lord to come. Finally He's come. Now He is calling me. Now He has come, bringing God's word. God was waiting for Him, I waited too. Until the moon rises till the stars shine. Share with me all the stories of times when we could not meet. All that you went through, won't you tell me, please? Though you haven't said much, all of your stories carry stories deeper still. every pain and struggle, all that you've done. And for us too, we have deep stories. In those days, tribulation struck like a storm, harsh winds of endless persecution. We were left questioning, can we meet with the Lord again? The ideal world, can it be fulfilled? Deep in thought, we worried and wondered. I cannot forget all those times come to mind. Truly we didn't know that in the future history would change like this, rising brightly. Truly God, you're great, you're almighty, you're omniscient. Truly my Lord, you're tenacious, powerful, you endure, you do it to completion. We cannot help but cry out, truly great, the Lord is truly great. We did well to believe and follow, truly we did. This is what I have realized here today.
And there you go. That was Please Call Me. Before that was A Sail of Life. And of course, there was Light of Hope. All right, guys. So it is Thursday, which means this section here, we're going into some question and answer. All right. So interesting thing going on is, there's a lot of, as I've gone through a lot, this is a question that I'm going to bring up to you guys and answer to. And it's a very something that I've realized, and I think it's very, very important for all of us to think about. As we go through, years and years of Providence, or we go through this year, there's a lot of evangelism that happens. We meet a lot of new people. People listen to the word. They love it. Okay. So we talked about community, everything else too, about how we're supposed to take care of people and bring them into a welcoming environment. But here's the thing. A lot of the people that we do meet and a lot of people that we evangelize, they're not like adults yet. Like there's SS, there's campus, people still living with their parents. And one of the issues that we do go through is that the parents get super concerned about the kids and like, what's going on? Why are they waking up so early? Why is this happening here? Why is this happening here? And, the children or these members are like struggling because they don't know what to do with their parents. They don't know what to do, how to act, how to react to them. And, we're kind of sitting there like just the thing that we usually do is just advise them like, oh, make sure you don't tell them this or don't say this or don't say that. And honestly, for kids like in their teens, like for SS and campus, it's not an easy thing just to, we might say it so easy like, oh, just say this, it's not that easy. It really, really isn't. And a lot of people are going to struggle, and they're going to struggle talking to their parents, not sure what to say. And then, there's a lot of people who have just these great relationship with their parents, but we might actually be ruining their relationship if they start to say things or hide things from their parents, right? And of course, there are certain situations, but it shouldn't be with all situations because some people have very, very healthy relationships. But one thing that, how do we get like these people to not assimilate, what's the right word, to have good relationship with their parents, and their parents to work, have some type of level of trust besides the one that we bank on. Like the one we bank on is we keep telling them, oh, be good to your parents, listen to them, and be a good example, and then they'll see how much you've changed, right? But even that takes time. Changing takes time, right? For your parents to notice, oh, they're different than what they were before. It does take time, guys. And that's why it's not so easy. They're going to struggle with it until their parents finally notice. Some people are going to fight with their parents. Some people are going to get angry with their parents. And it's this really big battle that they have. And as a church, as Providence begins to mature, there's something that really has to happen in order for you to be able to handle these parents really well. And this is something that should be happening. Doesn't matter if the parents are believers or not. It doesn't matter if the parents are against church or not, whatever it is. Pastors or leaders should be doing house visits. Like for people, even for just the members, right? Even if their parents are not in Providence. But it basically, parents have no idea what type of people they're meeting. So there is going to naturally be distrust, naturally, right? They're going to naturally not know who this person is. They're going to naturally feel, oh my gosh, what are my kids doing? Who are they hanging out with? And even if it's church, doesn't mean just because it's church, they're going to be okay with it. We have no idea what our parents or their parents have experienced with churches. And a lot of people do have negative things with churches, used to be Christian, went through bad stuff, and they don't want their kids to go through the exact same thing also, right? So what we have to realize is we just can't assume that these people are like so good and these parents are just going to trust it because it is a church. Some will and some won't. And the thing that we need to do is we need to, if we're going to be like a really, really good community, like leaders should definitely be visiting houses, right? Meeting the parents, talking to them. And I know there's some cases where the leaders are very, very young and the parents are much older than them. And this is when you should be going with elders, going with other older pastors, right? Bringing a family over. Why? Because these parents are going to feel even more comfortable if they see families with children running around and talking and playing with their kids or whatever it is like that too, right? So it's something that we really have to think about is what is normal and proper is, if someone becomes a member of the church, we should later on in the future when they, as they stabilize, we should go visit their families. See how they're doing. Talk to the parents. The parents will meet you and say, "Oh, yeah, okay, these people are kind of good. I like these people," right? And once they meet, then all the assumptions or crazy things that they have in their head are going to disappear because like, "Oh, I totally thought they were like, oh, they're really nice. Oh, they're this." And, it's something that I really believe that all of us have to really do. You have a newcomer. Then after they are realizing and they're going to be changing churches or starting to go to church or whatever it is. And that's when we have to start planning. It's like, hey, I think it's good that, the person who evangelized, if it's the same age, they hang out at the house. So then the parents meet the people, right? I just met a newcomer recently and they were telling me that their parents or at least one of their parents doesn't really like even people from the old church, like from the former faith. Right? And then but there's only one person they like. And guess who it is? It's the person that they actually met. You know what I mean? So if you look at that, it makes sense. Why would you trust anyone? Why should the parents trust anyone just because they're at a church? There's bad people at church too, right? So what we need to do is be wise about it, right? And especially if you are someone who's listening right now and a newcomer and your parents are kind of worried about you, invite them over. Invite your pastor over. Invite the elders over. Invite them over so they'll start building a relationship with your parents. And your parents will see how good the people are. And then what's going to happen next? They're going to be like, oh, wow, that's great. Oh, these people aren't that bad, right? And that's part of our responsibility as building this community is we're not here just to meet members. We're here to meet their families, see what their life is like, talk to the families, right? See the concerns that they have, talk to them, call them. Like that's part of the responsibility as like head leaders, assistant leaders, department leaders. And if you're friends with that person, go over to their house, right? Meet the family. And this is something that's going to have such a huge effect in the future, right? I remember in my house too, in the former faith, Same thing happened. Pastor would come over, say hi. Of course, I was so young back then, I would hate it. I'm like, oh, the pastor's coming over. I have to act like this, and this. But it's the exact opposite is the people that are coming to church are the young ones, which means that the parents are going to be a little bit more like, oh my gosh, what's happening? So it's something that we really have to start thinking about is inviting over, going, if you're a friend, someone at the same age, go over, meet the family, talk to them, eat dinner at their house. Don't avoid them. And then eventually you need to have these house visits where the pastors or elders will go over, eat together, have dinner together and stuff like that too, right? So that's one of the things I do think that is going to be really beneficial in the future more than anything else, okay? All right, guys, that is the question of the day. Hope that really helps you guys out and makes you think a little bit more deeper about these members and these new members that we're having more and more, even during this time of the pandemic. Okay, so that is the question of the day, which means we're going to go to today's song of choice. And today's song of choice is going to be a song from John Legend. Yes, I know many people like him. John Legend, this one's called Ordinary People, but I do not want to play the original. I'm going to play the cover from Daryl Ong, one of my favorite singers from the Philippines. Awesome singer, R&B style. That's the style I like, very Brian McKnight-ish, right? This is Daryl Ong covering John Legend's song, Ordinary People.
Girl, I'm in love with you. This ain't the honeymoon. We're past the infatuation phase. Right in the thick of love. At times we get sick of love. It seems like we argue every day. I know I misbehaved and you made your mistakes, and we both still got room left to grow. And though love sometimes hurts, I'll still put you first, and we'll make this thing work. But I think we should take it slow. We're just ordinary people. We don't know which way to go, 'cause we're ordinary people. And maybe we should take it slow. Take it slow. This time we take it slow. Take it slow. This time we take it slow. This ain't a movie, no. No fairy tale conclusions. Oh, gets more confusing every day. Hey, hey, hey. Sometimes it's heaven sent, then we head back to hell again. We kiss and we make up on the way. I hang up, you call, we rise and we fall when we feel like just walking away. As our love advances, we take second chances. Though it's not a fantasy, I still want you to stay. We're just ordinary people. Oh yes, we don't know which way to go. No, 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 no. We're just ordinary people. Oh yes, we are. Maybe we should take it slow. Take it slow. This time we take it slow. Take it slow. This time we take it slow. Maybe we live and learn. Maybe we'll crash and burn. Maybe you'll stay. Maybe you'll live. Maybe you'll return. Maybe another fight. And maybe we won't survive. Maybe we'll grow. You never know. Baby, you and I, we're just ordinary people. We don't know
And there it is. That is Daryl Ong from the Philippines, and that song is a cover of John Legend's song "Ordinary People." Hope you guys really enjoyed that. Really Filipino R&B style. One of my favorite singers of all time. Well, yeah, one of my favorite ever. Yeah, he's so good. Which means, guys, now that our song of choice is done for today, we're going to get into the last section. And because it's Thursday, what are we looking forward to? It is time for Victory Rhymes, right? These are resurrected poetry in this new time period from the brides and from the Lord. So everyone, please welcome Young Se.
Yo, what's up, beautiful people, and welcome to another segment of Victory Rhymes on the Morning Star Drive. We are at episode 22. What? How did I even get here? I am just really happy and thankful to be able to give glory to the Trinity every week through this poetry segment and to share the poems with you written by the brides of this history, so we can get to know each other and hear each other's experiences and get inspired. So today I'm going to share with you an amazing poem again. Well, I shouldn't say amazing poem because it's my own poem, but you get the hype. I just want to psych things up, okay? So it's not necessarily that I think it's amazing, but I mean, you're not going to keep listening if I say I'm going to share a very marginally okay poem with you today. So please lend me your ears. So let's say it's going to be mind-blowingly amazing today, and that's why stay tuned, y'all. Okay, so let's get to the point. So this week, the message is about remembering the things of the past, remembering what God, the Holy Spirit, and the Lord have done for us. And we should never forget. If you forget, you die. And this is just such an amazing message, because it's the answer, to not changing. If we don't want to change and we want to keep our faith, we should not forget. People change because they forgot what the Trinity has done for them. And I think we are in this hot pool, this warm water of this history and this amazing word and living this amazing life of faith, that we really forget how cold it was out there. And for me personally, if I can share a little bit of my own experience, it's been 4 years now. It's been recently 4 years since I passed, and so I'm in my 5th year now, and it's very easy to forget how things were before, and I forgot how I felt before, because that life is gone, it's in the past, and I can't imagine feeling like that anymore, feeling as anxious as I used to feel. I used to feel quite anxious, and actually leading up to the time that I started listening to Bible study, I actually felt increasingly anxious, because suddenly it really dawned upon me, what is this life? And I felt so lost and anxious, and before that I was never such a person that anxious. I was anxious, but I always knew that I wanted to be an actress, and I was well on my way doing that, and I became a theater actress. I worked as a theater actress, and I was living this road, fulfilling my dream, this path of fulfilling my dream. But then as God led me to Korea, and I came to Korea, and I even did some theater here, but suddenly it was something opened up to me that made me feel like there's so much more in this world. And suddenly there are too many paths ahead of me, and I felt so lost, and I felt overwhelmed with anxiety about the future. Where should I go? What should I do? And the thing that really bothered me was that I really wanted to live with purpose. I wanted to get something out of the day. So I would weekends were especially daunting for me, because there was a lot of time So a lot of time means a lot of potential for something to be done, and something to to have something to show at the end of this day. So I would write stuff, I did a blog, and I would just want to constantly feel like I am using the time well, but then there's still this very empty feeling at the end of the day, feeling like, okay, whatever this post reaches 10,000 views doesn't really mean much. And yeah, what will that be? Will I become a writer instead, or what will I do? And then I would set these goals. Okay, I want this post, I wish my blog would get 10,000 views or something, and then I would dream up, okay, should that be my goal? Where should my goal be? What should I do? And I just felt so lost. But then, since I realized God's history and God's purpose and why God made me, I felt such incredible peace and direction. And suddenly it's like I know exactly where I fit, where the puzzle pieces fit together. Wow, I can see God led me, and this is what I should do. This is what I should live for. And I really felt this extreme joy and peace just come over me when I realized God's history. And I just immediately cut everything of the past, and then turn my direction completely into this direction of living for God's history and God's purpose. And I forgot what it was like to be that lost and that unsure, that uncertain, and just also kind of unable to resolve the weight of regrets of the past kind of on your shoulders, and questions of life, all these kind of things. And then now I feel so light and happy and full of joy because I can invest all my energy into this life of love with the Trinity. And thinking of this week's message, it really reminds me wow, there's so much to remember when we just think, but when we forget, we forget how difficult things were before. And then we see the very, very small struggles as extremely big issues right now. So it reminds me of this poem that I wrote, and it's called 7 Billion Hearts. And I'm gonna read it for you. It goes like this. This world has so many corners, so many tunnels to crawl into, so many doors to hide behind. This world is so dangerous. Shots, blasts, and explosions hit us in the face every time we dare to look at the news. This world has so many corners, yet most fail to find a safe space. There are about 7 billion hearts beating around this globe, 14 billion eyes searching for safety, 14 billion eyes to stare into, yet not one like you. In a dangerous world full of dangerous places, amidst all the chaos, I found peace. I found a home. When I look at you, my Lord, I see what 14 billion eyes are searching for, what 7 billion hearts are racing towards. The safety I can't put into words. When my searching eyes found yours, I forgot what feeling lost in a dangerous world ever meant. And that was the poem I wrote called 7 Billion Hearts, about how we found the Lord in this very chaotic world. So many people are searching and always running around and exerting so much strength in different directions, just looking for something that is fulfilling and that can fill that void they feel inside, but they don't find anything. And now that we live in such peace and joy in this history, we forget what that feeling felt like. And if we just remember, our hearts will be set on fire again and we will not change. So let's remember let's always remember and really think back about the things the Trinity has done for us this week and give glory and thanks. And also, if you want to submit a poem that you've written or a poem you like, please contact me through the email in the description box below, and I would love to listen and feature your work. And this is it from me, y'all. I hope you have an amazing day reminiscing on all the great stories you've made with the Trinity. This is Youngse, and I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.
And thank you so much, Youngse, for another awesome episode of Victory Rhymes. Hope you guys really enjoyed that once again. Super thankful. I believe this is already episode 22, guys. That's 22 weeks. Please give a round of applause to Youngse for an amazing, amazing episode once again. It is not easy coming up with more and more material each and every day, but I know that everyone here is enjoying it. So everyone, if you do have any more poetry, like once again, you can go ahead and look into the description and you can send it to the email for Victory Rhymes. All right? So that is the end of today's show. I hope you guys really, really enjoyed it. It is Thursday. Enjoy your Thursday. Make sure this is the best Thursday you have this week. And then we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the